there are different seasons in life where you have to buckle down and focus on self-love. And right now I'm in one of those again. I've taken some space and time to really think about me and focus on me and what I need and want. And I think in our current culture, that's something that is viewed negatively, right? We think that it's selfish and we need to be all about service. But I think there's a balance, and one isn't really possible without the other.
Sun is coming up, are you ready to go? We can take it right, we can take it slow, yo.
Welcome back to the Road to Self-Love. It's your boy Paul Fishman, self-love coach and You Do You activist, here to have some just like heart-opening conversations with people that I admire, people that just get me excited to live my life, and so much more. So I am joined today with B from H is for Love, one of the most transformative skincare lines, I think. But I'm not gonna like take away any thunder from her. Like, I just want you to introduce yourself as you want to be known.
Okay. Yeah, so my name is B. Simonds. I am a mama, and I am the owner and founder of H is for Love, as you know. And I actually got in the car today and was like, I feel like I know you, because I just have connected with Paul's icy blue eyes.
These?
I mean, I'm sure people feel that way, but it is so fascinating, this world of Instagram friends, because when I meet somebody that I've totally liked on Instagram, I'm like, oh my God, it just feels like we're kindred spirits.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm having like a massive fangirl moment right now. Just like, if you don't know H is for Love, because I think it's a relatively like, it's getting more well known, but like it's growing,
kind
right?
of a cult, got a bit of a cult following.
Yeah, I'm part of the cult. You know, I like to think that the H stands for like holler, like holler is for love, but we're going to talk all about what the H actually means, because I actually don't know.
Okay.
But like, so if people don't know what H is for Love, and I'm sure like a majority of people don't who are watching this, like, what is it?
What does the H stand for? Well, I'll start with the story. It is really interesting how siblings can be completely opposite, but I was actually driving in the car with my sister right after I launched the brand, and she was like, I think it's great you're doing this and everything, but B, L is for love. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay, I know. I get that. But I chose H is for Love because it does kind of make you go, what does that mean?
Yeah.
So it's memorable. But H has always been my favorite letter. I actually thought that I would name my daughter H someday. But the way I intended it with the name was essentially that it's really more of a symbol rather than a letter. So it's composed of 3 lines. It's perfectly balanced when you look at it. And if you sort of tie that to nature, when you look at nature, everything from the mycelium to the galaxies, 3 is this dominant number. And I view nature as God. I'm not saying I worship nature. I have a relationship with a higher power. I believe in all of that, but they say God is love, so H is for love. It just sort of came out of that.
I am like so blown away right now, because I was just like, oh, it probably just like stands for her or something. Like, and that is like, that blows my mind, and I'm so like, I'm even more excited for this.
I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, that's so cool. And you know, it just makes me want to just like be like, just cover my body in it. So just for a little background about like how I got introduced to the brand, there's a like a little cute little shop in San Diego called Shop Good. I'm gonna have the owner on the show later, but I was introduced to it there, but like I didn't buy it because it was a kind of higher price point, and I think that that's something that like comes into like play when it comes to quote unquote natural skincare. I hate the word natural because there's no real regulations. It doesn't mean anything. But you know, I just love to dive into this whole conversation around like why it's so important to choose skincare that is natural. And I really want to find a road that isn't as bumpy, but you know, we're on like a bumpy road to self-love right now and having this bumpy conversation.
Sometimes the road is bumpy.
Yeah, it's true.
Stay on the road.
It's true.
You know, I agree with you completely about the term natural. It's great for those of us who are already in this world because we can use it loosely, right? But it's really misleading when it comes to big brands that are jumping on the bandwagon and want to mislead people, right?
Yeah.
Natural doesn't mean anything. Yeah, I was reading something about that recently. All the I watched a movie called, this is an aside, but I watched a movie called Stink.
Yep,
And I
watched
posted
it.
Did you? Okay.
Yep.
And it's so, we already know that stuff, right? But when you look at them, the lobbyists, when they're in there and they're like trying to push government regulations or fight against it, it's fascinating how manipulative they are and how scary it is. And the term natural fits right into that,
Yeah.
right?
But I don't think, like, I think we, as in you and I, might know that, but a lot of people don't understand the concept of, like, the word fragrance holding 3,000 potential chemicals in it, you know, and why it's so important. So, like, maybe take me back to when you created H is for Love, and like why was there like a piece that was missing from skincare? Like what fueled your need to create this?
Well, my journey started with food. So, I think when you start there, I think you have a lot firmer grasp of how screwed up the industry is just in general. The FDA does not have our best interest at heart. And when you really learn that and internalize that, you cannot unlearn that. So I came from a place where I had focused so heavily on food for so many years that when I did finally look at skincare, I didn't trust anybody anymore. And, around the time I started looking at it, some of the only brands that were out there were brands like May Lindstrom, who I think is a goddess.
Love
who
her.
doesn't? And maybe Tata Harper. But, I, like you, was a bit affected by the high price point, and I will address that because now that I've created a skincare line, I completely understand why that price point is there, because it costs a lot of money to make it. But when I first started formulating products, it was sort of with the mind of I was in the kitchen and I just felt like I could do it because I understood how to cook quite well at that point. I understood how the internal system worked, and after studying a bit, I understood how the skin worked. It's in a very similar way. Our bodies speak the language of nature, and plants speak the same exact language as our bodies. And so if I could figure out a way to make something myself, maybe I wouldn't have to buy those expensive products. Well, it turned out what I made was so effective because it really moved me when I discovered that I was eating really, really cleanly, but my skin didn't really reflect those changes. So even though certain things had changed, I was still unpredictably prone to breakouts. I had what many would consider combination skin, and I just wasn't pleased. I felt like my skin was dull and lifeless. It certainly wasn't glowing. And so when I really finally threw out all my skincare and makeup and decided to make it myself, and I used these very specific oils, my skin started showing those changes that I had longed for. And so I couldn't keep that to myself because everybody saw it and friends and family wanted it. And then very organically, for lack of a better word, it became a business. And only then did I realize I was going to spend way more money on this business than I ever would have if I just bought some skincare,
Right.
But it also turns out that it's my passion. So I discovered I have a bit of a propensity for obsession when it comes to learning about this kind of thing, and that's only compounded by the response of women who are made to feel beautiful and amazing when they use it, because that's like a high for me. When I get emails from people saying, this has changed my life, or I haven't left the house without makeup for years until I started using your line. I mean, it's so amazing,
That's like a goosebump moment.
Right?
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh man. So you said something that kind of like, I was like, when you said this propensity to kind of be like obsessive, I tend to run into this too with ingredients and get like super just like, I refuse to consume anything that uses natural flavors because I don't know what they are.
100%.
And I think that sometimes there comes a point where you have to draw a line, because there tends to be for me almost like this, I struggle at times, like I'm like, what am I supposed to do? There's so many options, but like I feel like no one has my best interest at heart, and it's like, yeah, I can make my own food. Yeah, I can trust someone like you to bring skincare into my world that makes me feel beautiful and like the goddess that I am. And it's just like, how have you dealt with that? Like knowing that you are like this person who just wants almost perfection in everything they put in and on their body.
Yeah, I feel like the answer to that is probably trifold. Number one, I think you brought up the topic of balance. I think that's really important. I think it's important to assess where our concern is coming from. Is it fear-based? Because that lends to stress, and stress is going to age us faster than anything. So really kind of I think assessing where you're coming from is the most important thing. What is the purpose behind wanting to eat cleanly and use clean products? For me, I am a rebel through and through. And when I learned that the man is trying to poison us all, not to be fear-based, but I mean that is what drove me in the beginning. And also being a mom of young kids, I was like, you're not going to poison my kids, you know? I am going to do my due diligence, and I'm not going to trust blindly that a government agency that is a revolving door for corrupt businesses that have a monopoly I am not going to trust them, period. Now that I know what I know, I can glance at an ingredient deck and be like, I know instantly, honestly, mostly by the front of the package, if it's a packaged food, if it's okay, because of how it's branded. But I shop at places where I know I'm safe, so I don't have to agonize over things that much. I am no longer fear-driven. I'm just really comfortable with knowing that I'm not going to put anything in or on my body that isn't natural. And I will use that word because I mean coming directly from nature. I don't want it to be processed. I don't want it to go through any kind of heat. I want it to have all of everything nature intended, because that's what makes me feel good. And I'm not afraid of it, all the bad stuff. I mean, I do live with about a 90-10 rule. Some people do an 80-20. For me, it's like, I have young kids, so I cook every night at home anyway. And I really don't eat out. And when I do, I pretty much only go to farm-to-table restaurants. And yeah, they might use some refined sugar in their preservation process for their, who even knows what, you know, something fermented. That's okay. It's not the end of the world, because I have a foundation that I know keeps me healthy and feeling good. So when it comes to balance, I'm more certainly in the camp of healthy, but I also allow myself to let loose and have a glass of wine. I mean, of course, you know. And some people do it every night, and that's great for them. I just have kids that wake me up before 6 a.m., and so I just choose not to because I don't feel good.
Oh man, well, I can't wait for those kids to sleep a little bit for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So let's just like dive a little bit deeper into, you know, for the person who doesn't know where to start, for the person who this conversation is like blowing their mind, like, wait, what do you mean like my skincare that I buy at the drugstore isn't good for me?
Okay.
Like how, like before I had my eyes open, I believed that anything that I could buy, that I could consume was safe and healthy, because why wouldn't it be?
Because we have government regulatory agencies.
Yeah.
Right.
But no, the real question is like, where's a good place to start? Like maybe a product or something that like you think it's really important that people pay attention to.
For skincare specifically?
Yes.
Okay. One of my products.
Sure, we can talk about it that way.
Or just a product in general, like a moisturizer or something.
I think, you know, that, and then of course, like tell them what product you have that would be.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. Okay, so, that's so hard, Paul. Okay,
don't freak them out, okay?
I know. Okay, so, skincare specific, one product. Well, I think probably the most important thing will be what you're leaving on your skin all day. So I can't choose one. I refuse to oblige, and I'm going to choose more than
rebel.
one. Okay. I think it's mostly probably important to address a moisturizer.
Okay.
And I will add to that your foundation, because those two things are sitting on top of your skin all day. I have an absolute favorite foundation. I don't know if you do or if you use any
I
ever.
don't really use.
I'm shocked because your skin is just perfect.
It's all because of HSY.
I absolutely adore Gressa's Minimalist Corrective Serum Foundation.
Okay.
It is like 100% active, so you know I think it's a little more expensive. It's about $60 for 1 ounce, but truly it takes 1, maybe 2 drops on her blending brush. And if you blend that over the top of a really good moisturizer, they blend beautifully. It's this sheer coverage. And if you're using a clean moisturizer, your skin is going to get better. But the truth is those 2 products are going to give your skin the most amount of time to heal. And then if you're using that moisturizer overnight as well, it really just allows your skin to breathe. Whereas a lot of conventional moisturizers are going to be, full of preservatives and yucky ingredients that aren't even active, and a lot of filler ingredients. So, it depends on what you like. If, a lot of people don't like to go for oil because maybe, if we're speaking specifically to the person who's still using something from the drugstore, maybe you're not aware that oil is the language your skin speaks, and a perfectly balanced oil will be heaven for your skin. But if you wanted to do a lotion, you could buy something like from Tata Harper, or I can't think of like a really inexpensive brand of lotion. Can you?
No, I can't.
Josh Rosebrook is great.
I love Josh so much. I got to meet him. He's so cool.
Seriously, he's so much good energy, but he makes a beautiful moisturizer, and I love everything about his business. And that's if you wanted to do a lotion. I prefer to keep oil and water separate, not for any reason other than it just keeps things really simple. And so, if you did want to go with an oil and a mist, the idea behind that is that skin needs both oil and water. You need hydration and moisturization. And a lot of people who throughout time have tried oils and say they don't work, it's because they're only using oil. If you only use oil, you haven't prepped the skin properly. Skin wants that hydration. And so you're locking in the hydration. Basic chemistry is oil and water repel, right? So you're locking in the hydration by pressing your oil in over the top. And then you mist again, you drive the oil deeper into the dermis. It's a beautiful thing. So really investing in a good moisturizer, be that oil and a mist or a lotion, and a really clean makeup is probably the best way to kickstart happy skin.
Well, don't worry if you weren't taking notes. I'm going to link all of the products that Bea recommended in the comments and the description box wherever you're listening or watching this. I'm just like, I want to know all of the things. I have so many more questions, but I think this is a perfect time to dive into our first road trip game. And today I want to play the association game with you. Have you ever played the association game before?
I don't think so.
Okay, so this is how it works. So I'm going to say a word, right? And you're going to say the first thing that pops into your head that's associated with it. So for instance, I could say like, love, and you could say H, and I could say universe, and then, we go throughout like that because of all the things that I've learned today.
Oh God, I'm scared of what I'm going to say.
Well, that's great. I'm really excited because that makes it even more fun.
This is plastic. Should we address that?
No.
I was traveling and I didn't sit it in the sun, so hopefully the BPA didn't leak into the water.
Oh man, but it's BPA free, so it's only BPS and BPE
right.
and BPF.
Oh,
and
God.
we're freaking out everyone now. They have no idea what
Balance.
we're talking about.
This is my 10% part of the day.
Perfect. Okay, you're just trying to pause from us jumping into the association game.
Yeah.
So,
did you say something? I forgot.
No, I didn't. So I'm gonna let you start to put all of the pressure on you.
Okay.
So just say a word or like anything.
Garbage can.
Plastic.
Oh, and I just keep going with
Yeah.
words? Okay, yellow.
The sun.
I gotta stop just being a toddler and choosing things that I see.
No. So you say something that you associate with the sun, and then I get it. Okay, perfect. I was like, plastic, yellow. Got it. Perfect.
Okay, I'm with you now.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, I started. I said garbage. You said what?
Well, okay. You said garbage. I said plastic. You said yellow.
Oh.
I said sun.
Let's go back to plastic.
Okay, sure.
So the first thing I think of my water bottle.
Okay, so I'm just gonna say water.
What? Water. The human body.
You're going deep. Okay. Smiles.
Paw.
Fishman.
Ropes.
Swings.
Knee highs.
Mary Jane's.
Oh God, me in my late teens.
A rebel.
Oh, a rebel. God, I'm trying to think of a famous rebel. Jesus. They said Jesus was a rebel. I mean, it's not a hot topic,
Yeah,
but
sacrifice.
Okay, sacrifice. Motherhood.
Oh, sacred.
Feminine.
Masculine.
Everybody.
The universe.
Infinity.
8.
That movie with Sandra Bullock and she gets abducted, The Vanishing.
Oh, yeah.
Super creepy.
I mean,
he buried the people
A
alive.
really, really, really great plastic surgeon.
That's who you just thought of?
Well, because Sandra Bullock has had some great
Oh my
work.
God, right?
Yeah. I think we made it. That was a really great run that we just had on the association games. So now you have a game that you can play with your kids while driving around to keep
I love it.
You know. So I want to talk about motherhood a little bit and just your journey with like kids, and I would love for you to like kind of like share your story around like how you became a mother. And I mean, we know how you became a mother, but just like, you know, the journey, because you know you I don't know your past relationship, but I know your current relationship, and I'd love for you to share all about that.
Yeah, so, when I had my first child 17 years ago, I was 21, and I had a very kind of crazy teenage years, and I had just gotten out of a girls' boarding school, which was very intense, and I guess when I was 19, but I was wild, and I knew that about myself when I had him, so I ended up finding a couple to give him to, and I love them. They're amazing. It's a lesbian couple, and they're still together 25 years later. I mean, well, they've been together 25 years. They're still together now, and they're just wonderful. So that really, I think, changed the course of my life a little bit, because it was a huge, big experience and very difficult and also good. And so after that, I traveled around a lot, and I kind of couldn't hold still, and I left the country every year, sometimes multiple times a year, and I just couldn't be nailed down. And after about 10 years of living like that, I got tired, and I moved back to a small town where my family lived, not where I'm from. I'm actually from California, but I moved back to Spokane, and I was just gonna stay there for 6 months and get on my feet. And then I met my now ex-husband, and I was a musician, he was a musician.
What? I didn't know this about you.
Yeah, that's how I made my living until I was 30. And so, you know, we played it in bands, and we did that whole thing, you know, and then eventually I just thought, you know, maybe I'll try this settle down and get married thing. It hadn't really ever resonated with me, to be honest, but I felt like that was the next step, and so I did it. And we had 2 kids together, and actually being pregnant with my second child, who is my youngest, Weston. I say that, you get what I mean though, right? Yeah. Is really what opened my eyes to a lot of this. So I got into natural food and eating because my ex-husband was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. And so doctors said that he would have to be on medication for the rest of his life. And the rebel in me was like, oh, hell no. Yeah. So I addressed food, and we actually healed that disease with food. Within a year, he showed no symptoms, and 8 years later, he still has no symptoms. So that's pretty amazing.
That is amazing. A whole nother podcast.
Right, yeah. And so I was already aware of that, and I was actually finishing hair school around the time I was pregnant. And when I read the ingredients of all of the products that I was using, and the perms, oh my God, so I ended up having to go to the head guy at the school and say, I'm not willing to do perms, I'm pregnant. And this was like mind-boggling to them. They just couldn't even imagine why. And that really got me interested. And so eventually I realized hair wasn't for me just because of all the chemicals. And then I dove really deep into learning about natural. And pregnancy does that for a lot of people, I've found. An illness in the family and pregnancy, right? It's the first time you open your eyes and you think, I have to think about somebody but myself. And so everything from bedding to, of course, the food I was eating, and because all of that stuff crosses the placenta and reaches your baby and then through your breast milk and all that stuff. So I geeked on motherhood. I mean, I wanted to do it. Like, I was all skin to skin. Don't wash the baby for 3 days because that stuff is good for them. Eat your placenta, have the baby at home. I did all that. And I think what I have discovered about myself is that when I do something, I do it 100%, all in. I would say 110%, but I read something recently that's not possible. So I had Weston, and then 2 years later I had Dolly, short for Dahlia, and so then marriage was not for me, and it isn't to say that I'm taking all the blame for it, but I also don't believe in blaming other people. It's just, when something isn't right, it's amazing how many people I see in these miserable relationships, and I was too for almost the entire time, and just not fulfilled. It wasn't just about that, because I believed in self-sacrifice. It was just not healthy. And at a certain point, I think you just stop and go, or I did, I am not dead, and I want to be an example to my children of choosing and living my best life. And so, I made a very scary decision to leave that marriage, and I'm just hugely blessed that I had started H about 1.5 years before that, because that takes care of us. So I wouldn't have really had anything other than, maybe going back to music or waitressing or something. So yeah, I feel really blessed, and I've learned a lot about myself and about relationships and other people. And yeah.
I love that. First of all, I just want to share that, I too am a musician. I went to Berklee College of Music.
You went to Berklee?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What do you play?
I'm a singer.
Awesome.
And it's just so, I feel like we're the same person. So it's just so cool,
Are you divorced?
No,
but you're married.
No, I'm married.
Okay.
But I was also in relationship and really sacrificing myself, and felt just not fulfilled, and was really just doing what I thought other people expected of me. And this was just really, really hard and challenging time of my life, but also my pain absolutely turned into my purpose, and I can tell my story and hopefully heal so many people. And your story, oh my goodness, I feel healed from hearing it, and I can't even imagine, I want you to just, I want to know all of the things, but I know we just don't have all of the time. Is there something that we haven't touched upon that you really feel called to share with this audience about?
I mean, there are so many things, because right now I feel like I'm in this massive period of growth, and it's such a trip that your thing is titled the road to, is this a podcast? It's a video podcast?
A show. Yeah,
Okay.
so it'll be on, you can either listen to it as a podcast or you can watch it on YouTube.
That. I'm so excited. But the road to self-love, that's really what I'm on right now, because skincare for me, the way H changed my life was realizing that taking time for myself was taking time for other people. It filled me up and gave me something to give. And for the first few years of motherhood, I couldn't even take a second for myself. I mean, I couldn't put the baby down to get in the shower. It was so intense to have a toddler and a newborn, and I don't think enough women talk about that, how GD hard it is. People are like, oh, I'm an earth goddess, oh, here's my beautiful Instagram perfect baby in life, and it is just lonely and hard. And so when I started doing these self-care rituals, going into my bathroom and putting on a mask and all of those things, I think something in me changed, and I was able to be kinder to other people and more patient with my children and all of that. So right now, I'm having this resurgence of basically that entire process is happening to me again. I'm realizing that there are different seasons in life where you have to buckle down and focus on self-love. And right now I'm in one of those again. I've taken some space and time to really think about me and focus on me and what I need and want. And I think in our current culture, that's something that is viewed negatively, right? We think that it's selfish and we need to be all about service. But I think there's a balance, and one isn't really possible without the other. So right now, I've been listening to a ton of podcasts, everything from like Goop, I've listened to every single one of those, some Oprah stuff, and there's this other one. What is this guy's name? I forget. But I just listen to anything I can get my hands on. And what I'm starting to realize, because I work all day in the studio and I just blast these podcasts, it's like a gumball machine, because I'm filling my brain up and my spirit up with all of this information and all of these thoughts. And then I'm starting to get this picture of what needs to happen. And I'm realizing that we have this internal dialogue, right? The story we tell ourselves about ourselves. A woman commented on my Instagram about it recently. It said that the story we tell ourselves about ourselves is the most important story we will ever tell. And it is so 100% true, because I, even, at 38, knowing how important self-love is, catch myself on a daily basis being negative toward me, saying horrible things to myself, stuff I would never say to my children or my friends or people I love. And I think that kind of dialogue needs to be addressed first and foremost. And it takes time for all of us, because it's a constant, rewiring of the brain. And I think it's 100% possible to rewire our brains, but it takes diligence, and it's like chanting a mantra every day, every time, or it's like meditation. Every time you catch a thought coming in, you grab that thought and you replace it with something positive. And so that's where I'm at right now. My journey to self-love is really focused on my internal dialogue, what I say to myself about myself, because I think that will positively affect every other area of my life. What I expect in a relationship, the way I expect to be treated, the kind of self-respect I have is going to affect everything. And also just manifesting goodness. Do I think I deserve that goodness? I need to think it, or else it's not going to be manifested.
Amen.
So that's where I am.
I'm obsessed with you. Just like so, I knew through the screen on Instagram that we were just gonna be like kindred spirits.
Same.
So I am so into that. I think that's just like really, really important thing. Like the stories we tell ourselves, and knowing like you as someone who's like very well versed in like positivity and just like trying to live your best life and taking care of yourself still struggles. I, a self-love coach, as a quote-unquote expert in the space, I struggle every single day with that stuff too. So it's like breaking down and realizing that like you are not alone, I am not alone. We're all going through this together, and we're all only human. And I think that it's really, really easy to look at someone, especially in the snapshot that is social media, and be like, oh, they've got it all figured out, but it's so the opposite. And I think that that's my real mission in this work, is to really empower and inspire humanity to love unconditionally. And I'm just so grateful to have you on that journey with me.
Same.
Yeah. So I would love to play another game, and this one's going to be a little bit easier. Don't worry. I'm sure you might have played it before, and I always preface it because if you're new here on the road to self-love, and you're kind of going to be like, why is he playing this game on the road to self-love? But just like the road's been bumpy today, the way that we feel about things might be disagreeable to people, or we might just have like really strong feelings about things and other things. So you just have to like let go and just do you. So we are going to play Fuck, Marry, Kill with inanimate objects, because I'm not going to get crazy with the people. And we're going to do it with skincare, because I think that that's really, really fun.
I have never heard of this.
You've never heard of Fuck, Marry,
Kill?
So
okay.
Basically, I'm going to tell three things, and you're going to choose one thing that you would fuck, one thing that you would marry, and one thing that you would kill.
Marry, like M-A-R-Y.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah,
Marry, kill.
like just be like bring it to life.
Okay.
So I love doing this with the skincare peeps. So we're gonna fuck, marry, kill. And now it's all bumpy. I always get bumpy when I go into like crazy land. Moisturizer, exfoliant, and sunscreen.
What? How am I supposed to choose something?
Listen, you gotta do it.
Okay, so I would obviously marry moisturizer. Kill sunscreen and fuck exfoliant.
Oh yes, because you want it nice and rough and dirty with an exfoliant that's gritty. I got it. I'm picking up what you're putting down. You know, that's okay. So basically,
I don't think I understood the game.
you understood it. You understood it. You want to make sweet, passionate love to an exfoliant. And you want to
I just
spend
meant I liked it that
No.
much. I didn't
Okay.
actually think of grinding on it.
No. I mean, I'm just taking it there, but it's just really like you want to have like, you just want to have a passionate affair. Like,
Yeah,
it's
sweet,
like
sweet love.
Sweet love, yeah. That's how we can, we can get, exfoliant is for love, really, if we're getting down to not
Truly.
H, yeah.
Truly.
So I just have a couple more questions for you, and that's a question I ask all of the people that join me on the road to self-love. What does self-love mean to you?
Okay. What does self-love mean to me? I think it depends on when you're asking the question, right? So right now in my life,
Yeah.
it's going to mean something different
Yeah,
than
great.
it may have
Give it to us now.
in a different season. Self-love. The first word that comes to mind when I think of self-love is honor. I think everything from the way you treat your body, both internally and externally, to the kind of language you have about yourself, to that, the internal dialogue we were talking about, can be kind of wrapped up in the word honor. I think honoring ourselves first and foremost is a wonderful way to adjust the lens through which we see the world. So if we have this honoring approach to what we eat and what we put on our bodies, and an honoring way in which we speak to ourselves, I think that really is self-love for me.
I love that honor. I have to share that I have done a lot of these interviews, and every single person defines self-love differently.
Really? I want to see some of them.
Yeah, don't worry. You're going to see all of them. I would love for you to share where everyone can find you. How can they get your stories to me? What I love about your brand is that it's really truly you. It's not just come buy our skincare. It's just everything you're going through. You have an amazing granola recipe that you share. You have this cute little squirrel that is your best friend. Lady the squirrel. So where can we all find you and get obsessed with all of the things that you do?
Okay, so my handles and all that?
Yeah.
Okay, so so I'm on Instagram. I'm really monogamous when it comes to my social media. So I don't sleep around.
Okay.
I cannot figure out Facebook for the life of me. Many years ago, I found myself updating my status quite frequently, and I got disgusted with myself. And so, that kind of self-love I'm not so into. So I actually got away from that. And when I came back and tried to figure it out, I'm like an old lady now. So I just link my Insta to my Facebook, so it looks like there's a presence on there, but there's not. Instagram is H, the letter, _is_for_love. So it's H is for love, all underscores. The website, where you can find skincare, tips and tricks for how to get the most out of the line, and how to address internal wellness, as well as information on ingredients, and our stock list page is at h4love.com, HFORLOVE.com.
I love it. And you guys, if you want to just try out the entire line, this is how I got introduced. She has all of her products. I think that there's not enough pollen that comes in that spray. I can maybe spray myself once with it.
Oh no!
But that's just because I get real aggressive with spray. But you can try her entire line. I think it's $50 or something. And it's really, really great place to start. Or you can just dive right in and get my the godsend product, Bara Bara, which is this beautiful balm that you put on your face, and I travel with it, and I put it on my face right after I get on the airplane.
I know. I see you doing that, and it is so adorable. I love it.
And it's like, it leaves your face looking orange, but I swear it keeps my skin just like protected.
Well, and if you do a heavier layer, it will look orange, and that's the sea buckthorn and the calendula that's infused into it, and that richness, that vibrancy is telling, right, of how potent the ingredients are. But if you spray with a little bit of pollen afterward, and you're actually afraid it's going to turn your skin orange, it doesn't really. It will go away in a few seconds.
And my skin always just like seeps it all up.
Yeah,
so it's just like, bah. And sometimes I forget to wipe it off, and then I'll go like work out and sweat, and I've got like bar in my eyes, and it's just so it's a great thing.
I've gotten it in my eyes before too, because I like to put it on as a bit of a moisture mask at night before bed. And then if you are watching Netflix and chilling, and then it's kind of in your eyes, you get a little foggy. But
yeah. Well, you can't go wrong with any of her products. Like, seriously, just go and buy all of them. Thank you so much for joining us on the road to self-love.
Thank you.
I cannot wait to share this with everyone. And remember, if you are watching this on YouTube, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share this with all of your people. And if you're listening on your favorite way to listen to a podcast, please like, comment, review this, share it. It means the world to me. Subscribe to us. We are just all on the road to self-love. I wish I could have a big van with all of us in here. And we will see you next time on the road to self-love. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.